Thank you very much, Chairperson, Chairman of the National Population and Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia. Thank you very much, Dr. Hasto Wadoyo, for your introduction. President General Director of the National Office of Family Planning and Population of the Republic of Tunisia, Dr. Habib Gedira, Director of the Health Office at USAID Indonesia, Mrs. Pamela Foster, Deputy for Training, Research and Development, Professor Rizat Damanik, Executive Director of Partners of Population and Development at Dr. Adnene Benhaj, Executive Director, Population Communication Commission of the Philippines, Dr. Ado Antonio Perez, Research Advisor for Universitas Indonesia, Professor Buti Utomo, Member of Kerala State Planning Board, Dr. Mridul Iepan, Member of Center for Global Child Health, Hospital for Sick Children in Canada, Professor Zulfikar Abuta. Firstly, I want to extend my warm greetings to fellow country partners in population and development, and I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the National Population and Family Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia for the kind invitation to participate in this webinar, as well as mark this year in International Women's Day. We are marking this day under very difficult circumstances, but I believe in the resilience of human beings, and I'm sure that we all will rise to ensure that we live and improve our well-being and the well-being in particular of our people. I wish also in the presence of, to welcome the presence and participation of panelists and academics for their presence in today's webinar. And my thoughts and appreciation goes to prominent women who occupy positions of leadership in various capacities, both political and economic, as well as the most difficult areas of politics, particularly for women. As we are not in leadership positions just to add numbers, but to rather represent women empowerment, which is derailed by different social aspects, including a culture of inequalities and patriarchal traditions, among other aspects. As we also mark the 26th anniversary of the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, it is worth celebrating the achievements of women, past and present pioneers like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the first woman and the first African to be appointed as Director General of the World Trade Organization. Her appointment adds to other female leaders' leadership as Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, who despite strong opposition opened German doors to migrants during the Syrian refugee crisis. I also wish to thank all other leaders, women who have led in positions of power, who have used their position of power for upgrading and for improving the lives of women in general. I refer here, for instance, to the former president of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who during her tenure served as an advocate for promotion of the safety of women and women's rights to full participation in peace building work. Being more realistic, I'm confident that there are many other unrecognized heroines out of who are continuously contributing immensely to a better world, especially under this new normal of the COVID-19 pandemic. Fellow members of the board and partners in population space, I'm delivering this speech during yet another difficult chapter in our lives as more women continue to bear the brunt and burden of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Their situation as women has been worsened by what challenges have been brought by COVID-19, the common enemy, and its new variant, which has affected all of us. As a result, it has been difficult for many unemployed women to access basic services, including healthcare, water, food, shelter, basic income, contraceptives, and personal protective equipment to minimize exposure to the coronavirus. What gives me hope, though, is that This year's theme celebrates the tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from COVID-19 pandemic. This makes it more relevant as it is aligned with the priority theme of the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, and I quote, "Women's full and effective participating and decision-making in public life, as well as the elimination of violence for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls." As we are starting our meeting here, I this morning was listening to the former Deputy President of South Africa, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, who now represents us in the United Nations, but also represents all women of the world. The theme is associated with the flagship Generation Equality campaign, which calls for women's rights to decision-making in all areas of life, equal payment, equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work, ending all forms of violence against women and girls, and healthcare services that respond to women's needs. Most interesting is that countries that have effectively stemmed the tide of COVID-19 pandemic and equally responded to its health and broader socioeconomic impacts are led by women. I'm here referring to countries including Denmark, Ethiopia, Finland, Germany, Iceland, New Zealand, and Slovakia, to mention but just a few. Despite this reality that women as heads of state and government can be equally effective as their male counterparts, there are only 20 countries led by women worldwide. The majority of women stand at the front lines of COVID-19 crisis as healthcare workers, caregivers, innovators, community organizers, as well as exemplary and effective national leaders in combating the pandemic. Regardless, many countries are stuck with inconsistencies and inadequate representation of women in national and global COVID-19 policy and decision-making spaces. Evidence from many countries have shown that COVID-19 is a new form of barrier besides the persistent pre-existing social and systematic barriers to women's participation and leadership. Since the emergence of COVID-19 into our daily lives, we have unfairly experienced increased incidents of gender-based violence, feminicide, unpaid care duties, unemployment, poverty, and inadequate access to sexual reproductive health and rights services. As I conclude, my humble plea to my fellow brothers and sisters, it is that we need to be a key strategy to achieve gender equality and women empowerment, while ensuring that women's access to education and their voice in social, political, and economic decision-making processes is not compromised. This noble idea can only be converted from theory to practice through international collective action, accompanied by South-South triangular cooperation. One such platform is the Partner in Population and Development, whose exclusive mandate is to consolidate, institutionalize, strengthen, and promote South-South cooperation in the field of productive health, population, and development. The organization's strategies to achieve its overarching mission of improving the equality of lives for the people, in particular women, should include sustained advocacy, capacity building, networking, knowledge management, and sharing. All these would be useful and effective if we embrace and promote exchange programs, transfer of successful experiences and technological knowledge, as well as best practices, as we are here to share that. This approach would definitely work to our advantage for women emancipation and enhance our operation within the framework of South-South cooperation. Partners in Population and Development is currently composed of 27 developing countries representing 59% of the world's population, launched during 1994. As we celebrate the International Women's Day with the government of Indonesia today, we as PPD would like to take this opportunity to learn and share best practices in bringing change to the new world order for women. Such can be attained by systematically finding innovative ways of integrating gender concerns and goals into South-South cooperation. And on that note, I therefore wish the government of Indonesia well and congratulate them on the International Women's Day as they strive with other countries of the world to change, liberate, and improve the living conditions of women in general. We in South Africa support fully the struggle for women's emancipation, the struggle for gender equality. We support working together as led by our President Cyril Ramaphosa. I thank you.